Okay, thanks everyone for joining. So we're ready to get started. You are here for an International New Student Visa webinar. So this webinar is intended for new F1 or J1 students who are going to be attending UC Berkeley on a student visa. So we're going to go slide by slide. Please feel free to post questions in the chat, but please know that that many of your questions may be answered through the webinar. So I'd ask you to hold your questions until we reach the end of the webinar, and then let's see what's not answered, okay? And I'll pause from time to time to take some questions during some of the different sections, but I definitely want to give plenty of time to get through the slides and also to go through a Q&A with you. So we will take time for all of your questions. There's not too many of you, so you'll all likely get an opportunity. So here we go. And let's see. Okay, so what type of visa do you need? Well, you are here if you are intending to be here on a student visa to study full-time at UC Berkeley. So there are two main types of student visas. The F1 and the J1 student visa. Both are what are called non-immigrant visas. That means they are not visas that will end up in permanent residency. The intention of the visa is for you to come for a particular purpose. Once you've completed that purpose, you'll return home. It's sponsored by the school, so we issue a document of certification that allows you to go and apply for the visa to come here to the US to study. It allows you to remain in the US for the duration of your status. So that means as long as you're continuing to study and your documents are valid, you're permitted to remain in the US. At entry, you don't have a fixed end date because your end date can be adjusted. If you need more time to graduate, or if you get post-completion employment related to your F1 or J1 visa, that end date can be extended. You could graduate early. So it's a fairly flexible type of visa status. Additionally, both the F1 and the J1 status come with specific employment benefits. If you're not sure which status is right for you, we have a website called F1 or J1, which status is right for you, and you can take a look at the differences between the visa statuses. For the most part, most students are here on an F1 visa. We don't have a lot of J1 visa holders, but some students do come on a J visa, often if they are married and have a spouse, or if they have government sponsorship, or if they're in a particular part of sponsored visa program or exchange program. But the majority of folks are on an F1. Other visa categories that allow study. So there are other visa categories that allow study. We can't really advise you on those, but if you're in one of these visa categories, you may consider whether your current status is good for you or if you'd like to change to student to study. So some categories that allow study are H4, J2, E2, and the TD. However, we do want to make sure that you know that B2s, B1s, tourists, and F2s are not permitted to study full-time. Tourists are not permitted to study in a degree program at all, so please don't enter the US to study on a tourist visa. All right, so here is the full application process. You all are new students, or possibly we might have some readmitted students who are coming back after a break in studies, but most of you I think are new. So your first step is to, after you're admitted to UC Berkeley, you have to submit your statement of intent to register. Once you've done that, within about a week or two in your CalCentral, you'll see the NIF, the non-immigrant form task item, pop up in your CalCentral. Once you see that task item, then you can go ahead and log into the NIF, and the NIF is going to take you through lots of questions. That's the way you request your I-20 or DS 2019, which is your certificate of eligibility from UC Berkeley to go and apply for your visa, or to make entry. After you get your I-20 or DS 2019, you'll pay what's called the SEVIS fee, and we'll talk about all these things. Then you'll complete your online visa application, the DS-160, and you'll pay a visa application fee. So the government likes their fees, and there's fees for everything. Then you'll schedule a visa appointment, attend your visa interview, and if everything's successful, you'll get your passport back with an F1 or J1 visa in it. So what's our processing time? So NIF processing time is 10 to 15 business days. F1s, your I-20s will be emailed to you. The government now allows us to electronically distribute I-20s to students in order to get them to you more quickly. J1s, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, there's no email delivery available for you. There's only express mail. We can mail the I-20s to you, but we're not able to email them because the Js have slightly different rules. Visa application fees, forms, and appointment scheduling are all accessible online, so you can do all of this online. And wait times for visa appointments and processing really vary by location. So you need to apply as early as possible to avoid delays. And I know that some consulates out there are very impacted right now, either by COVID or global conditions. So check your consulate and your local wait times as soon as possible in order to get an appointment as soon as you're able to. So your I-20 or DS-2019, what this is a certificate of eligibility, and this allows you to apply for an F1 or J1 visa, or if you're someone who doesn't need a visa, you're from Canada, it allows you to enter the US in F1 or J1 status. It contains information about you, your school, your program of study. So to get this certificate of eligibility, you have to complete the non-immigrant information form, the NIF. And we'll email for F1s the I-20 to you. So you can see the I-20 is the one in the back that has an F1 on it. And the DS-2019 is for J1s. And that's what that document looks like. For J's, we mail this document to you. Part of the information you need to apply for your visa is you need to know your SEVIS ID number. That's information that you may be asked for. So what is your SEVIS ID number? It's on the document. So you can see it's printed at the top left of the I-20 and it's listed at the top right of the DS-2019. We will also make your SEVIS ID number available for you in the NIF after we've issued your I-20, so you can see it a little sooner than before you actually receive the document, so you can actually get started at least booking your visa appointment and applying for that visa. Okay, so receiving the I-20, you've completed the NIF, then you need to pay the SEVIS fee after you receive your I-20 or DS-2019. So what this is the government has this system called SEVIS. It's the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. This is a database that holds all of your F1 or J1 information. It's what produces the I-20. All the data that's on the I-20 is held in the SEVIS database. Basically, the government makes you, as the F1 or J1, pay for the upkeep of their own system. That's just how it is. So you only pay the SEVIS fee once per record. So you're starting one SEVIS record now with a particular SEVIS ID. So again, that SEVIS ID is at the top of your I-20 or DS-2019. And when you pay that SEVIS fee, you're going to need that SEVIS ID number. The fee amount is subject to change, but right now it's stable. You just log in online at fmjfee.com and you'll pay the SEVIS fee. And we want you to print your receipt after payment. So one thing I will say now, so we've kind of gone through step one is you request your I-20 or DS-2019. Step two, pay the SEVIS fee. The next step, I don't know if any of you are Canadian. If any of you are Canadian citizens, Canadian passport holders, our Canadian friends do not need to apply for a visa for entry. So if you're Canadian, you've done what you need to do in order to get the documents you need to enter. So if you're Canadian right now, you can tune out for a while until we get to the entry documents, later in the webinar. You don't have to go to an embassy and apply for a visa. That's the only thing that's different for you. It's just because the government has a specific relationship with Canada so that Canadians don't have to have a visa in their passport, but they do have to have an I-20 or DS 2019. But if you're not Canadian, then let's proceed. So first, find the US Embassy or consulate near you. So you can go to www.usembassy.gov and check your local embassy or consulate's website for specific visa application instructions. Every consulate is different, so it's really, really important that you actually look at their specific website. And please don't just Google it randomly. Go to this usembassy.gov and find their specific website, because occasionally there's like scammers out there that try to trick you into thinking you're going to your embassy's website, and you're not. So go here, go directly to that embassy's website. Look for instructions to apply for a non-immigrant visa. The US Embassy site might link you to a third party for visa application instructions. That's okay, as long as you're being linked directly from the embassy or consulate website to visa application instructions, that's fine. But like I said, I don't recommend just randomly Googling that application. Go directly from the embassy or consulate website. So part of that application process is the form DS-160. This is an online visa application form that's used for all non-immigrant visas. It's important for you to understand that because the form may seem at times a little confusing or clunky, and that's because it's made for every type of visa category. So it's asking lots of questions, and sometimes the questions are a little odd for students. It's kind of a smart form, but it's not that sophisticated. So just be aware that the questions are fairly generic, and that's okay. It's just because this is the main form used for all visa applications. So you'll select your embassy location first, and then after you finish the application, you're going to complete and print a confirmation page that'll have a barcode on the page, and that'll likely get scanned when you're applying for your visa in person. So here's some tips. We get these questions a lot. US point of contact. You can either use our office, so go to our website, internationaloffice.berkeley.edu, and look at our contact us page, and you'll see our address and our information. Or you can use a family member or friend in the US. You're welcome to do that as well if you do know someone in the US. Another question, it will ask you the address where you will stay in the US. It's okay if you don't know where you're going to live right now. Many people are finding housing when they arrive, but you should provide an address where you may stay when you first arrive. So that might be a hotel, it might be a friend's house, whatever your plan is for first arrival, add that address because you need something to add into the form. You'll also upload your photo while completing the online form DS-160, and there's specific photo guidelines on the official website. So for those of you watching, you see there's all these links here. This information is on our website, and we'll be posting the slides online. It's actually on one of our web pages already, so don't worry. You don't need to take pictures or copy all of this. You'll have access to the links. So you'll pay the visa application fee. It's non-refundable, so keep in mind if you pay and you decide you don't want to come, you don't get your money back for the visa. Sometimes it's called the MRV fee or the NIV fee. So if you see those words, MRV or NIV, that's okay. That's just other language for the visa application fee. Payment instructions are really specific to your local US embassy or consulate. Every country has kind of a different procedure for how you pay the fee. So make sure that you're looking specifically at the place that you're going and following their specific instructions. And then you print your receipt. So as part of the process, you'll schedule a visa interview appointment. So follow instructions provided by the embassy or consulate where you want where you want to apply, and don't wait to schedule. Wait times for appointments can be long during summer months, so schedule as soon as possible. I know some of you may be anxious if you've already been looking at wait times or looking at scheduling. Some consulates are listing really outrageously long wait times, like hundreds of days. Do your best. It is possible that there are expedited or emergency visas for students. Generally, those are things that you can ask for if you're getting close to the start of school, if you're within 30 days of your start date. So you might want to inquire with the consulate if you need an emergency visa and it looks like the wait times are really too long for you to have an arrival. It may be too early to see right now because we're just kind of starting the summer visa season. So you may want to see how things progress and maybe check in to see what their emergency procedures are if you need to request an expedited visa. But for those of you who aren't seeing outrageous wait times, please, all of you, schedule as soon as you're allowed to schedule, and schedule as soon as possible once you have your I-20 or DS 2019. All right, so preparing for the interview. I think this is the part many people get really anxious about. So check the US Embassy website for a list of documents. And generally, this is going to include your passport, your I-20 or DS 2019 from UC Berkeley, your acceptance letter, or proof of enrollment if you're a continuing student. But I think most of you are new, so you'd have your admission or acceptance letter. Proof of funding, financial statements, award letters. So you would have already provided us with proof of funding for your I-20 or DS 2019. So likely that funding is going to be good for the visa interview. Although if you have funding from the university, we recommend that you get a letter or an official award letter from your department rather than using our guarantee form. For those of you who have funding from the university, we have a form that we can accept to issue your I-20 or DS 2019, but generally embassies and consulates, they like bank statements, they like award letters, not forms. You'll need your SEVIS fee receipt and your DS 160 visa application confirmation page. Okay, so the interview. Security at embassies and consulates varies. So check before you go to find out what items you will not be allowed to carry inside the building before you go. Sometimes they say you can't have a camera or other things. Occasionally there's some embassies where you have to leave your cell phone at a secure location. Just check. So you wait for your number to be called, and it's a really short interview. It's only a few minutes. And basically the interviewer is interested in your studies. So what are you studying? Why are you coming to the US? Your non-immigrant intent. They're interested to understand whether or not you intend to stay here beyond your studies, or whether you intend to go home, and whether you have ties to home, family, bank accounts, property, a life, job prospects back home, because it's a non-immigrant visa. You're not supposed to have the intention to remain here permanently after you finish your studies. They're interested in your financial ability to pay for your studies and to have support while you're here studying. And finally, your language ability. That's generally not an issue for our Berkeley students. Your language ability is good enough to get into Berkeley and your undergraduate or graduate program, but you need to be able to state all of the things that you want to in English and in a way that's understandable. So, if you're in an area of study that's very complex, maybe be ready to have a little bite-sized explanation of what it is that you study and what you're coming here for, and make sure that you're clear on how to explain it. For undergraduates, a lot of you are undeclared. So if you're undeclared and they say, what are you coming here to study? You can tell them what your intended major will be, that I'm a freshman and, later I'm hoping to study business. But if you don't know, you can just say, I'm a freshman and, you know, I'm still deciding. I'm studying general studies right now. If you're a grad student, of course, you're going to have a designated major in a specific area. So I have a question in the chat. Are we providing the same set of financial documents we sent to UC Berkeley for the I-20? Most likely. The only difference would be, like I said before, bank statements would be the same as long as they're within the last 6 months. So you need recent bank statements. So it depends on how long between when you submitted to us and when you submit your application. If you have awards from the university, we recommend that you get an award letter from your department rather than using the guarantee of financial support form. The NIF allows you to submit this guarantee of financial support form that your department fills out. It's like a form on our letterhead, but it's better for visa interviews to have an actual letter from your department that states, you know, the amount of your award and things like that. So tips: answer questions concisely, so be brief but honest. Always be honest. Don't exaggerate. Don't provide any information that is not true or accurate. Be aware that the consulate may also conduct a social media review. So before you go in there, think about what's out there about you in social media. Be smart about what information you post online. You know, this is a time where it's a moment to think about yourself professionally and how you're presenting yourself to the world, because a visa officer may have access to your information, whatever's out there about you on the World Wide Web. So just be aware of that. We've had some students, you know, people post pictures of themselves doing fairly foolish things. So just, you know, imagine if someone from immigration was reviewing your social media and that's what they see. Also, if you don't understand something, if the officer asks you something and you don't understand, you didn't hear them properly, or you need clarification, don't be afraid to ask. It is much better to clarify a question than to answer incorrectly, or to provide an answer that is answering the wrong question, or to say something that actually isn't accurate to your situation. And be respectful and courteous. Even if someone is not nice to you, if someone is not respectful to you, let us know. There are ways to report bad behavior if you're treated poorly at the consulate, at the border, or anything like that. But, you know, no matter what happens, be respectful and courteous. That's the best for you. So I'm just following up to the question about the funding. So the last 6 months period should be counted from the date of the interview or the date of the offer letter or else. So date of the interview. So whatever you're presenting at the interview, you shouldn't be presenting anything that's more than 6 months old as of the date of the interview. So it looks like there's a question, would it be easier or more common to get internships using the F1 visa? That's kind of a complicated question and not what we're covering during this webinar, but we do have employment information on our website, and I'd encourage you to look at the F1 versus J1 page to see. But most students are on the F1. Generally, the F1 has benefits that students are pleased with, but internships can only occur for the F1 after 1 academic year of study in the US. J1s do have internship authorization as well, but they have one pot of it, and any internship authorization they use before graduation gets subtracted from their post-completion authorization. That is all I'm going to say. So if you're interested in employment information, take a look at our website. Okay, so you receive your visa. So once you get it, check what you need to do to pick it up or get it delivered, and then look at it. Is that your picture? Is that your name? Is your name spelled right? Is the visa category right? Did you ask for an F1 and you were granted an F1? Sometimes they make mistakes. So So check everything on the visa when you get it. If something's wrong, contact them immediately to get it corrected. You don't want to be waiting or trying to enter if you've got incorrect information on your visa. Okay, and then security clearances. So occasionally, there may be a delay in visa processing. Contact us if you have concerns about a delayed arrival, if you're worried that you won't make it by the start of classes. Right now is probably too early to contact us about this because there's several months. But if you do get a security clearance or what's called administrative processing, it's not uncommon, especially if you're from particular countries and you're studying in a science, technology, engineering, or math field or a sensitive field. The average processing is 60 to 90 days, but in some cases, we've seen it take as long as 6 months, sometimes more. Most of the time, this issue is resolved in about 60 to 90 days. The Department of State has information about it. We have information about it on our website. What you should know about a security clearance is, well, there's really nothing we can do about it. If you get administrative processing, you just have to wait it out. And there isn't really anything the university can do to speed up the process. It's because when these happen, there's multiple government checks going on and there's no way to make them happen faster. So you may be frustrated, but just know it's just one of those things you have to wait out and wait till the process comes to completion. So worst case scenario, what if your visa gets denied? Visa denials happen. We don't get tons of them at UC Berkeley, but we get a few every semester. If your visa is denied, first of all, don't panic. It's not the end. Ask for the reason of the denial in writing. The consulate is required to provide you the reason for the denial in writing. So you'll usually get a form or a sheet with an information about the denial reason. Immediately, make detailed notes about the interview, the officer's name, the questions you got asked, your answers to the questions. Take all that down and then email us at internationaloffice@berkeley.edu. Give us the details, including the location of the consulate, the date and time of your interview. Give us a copy of that denial notice and tell us anything you remember about the questions. Usually that's going to give us a clue to maybe what the problem was with the visa, and we'll try to support you in how to reapply, because if you're denied, the only way to get a visa is to apply again and come up with additional information that addresses the denial reason. So for those of you who have family, you can have visas for dependents. So if you're an F1, you would have an F2 dependent. If you're a J1, you'd have a J2 dependent. So who are dependents? They are children under 21 years of age or a legally married spouse. So unfortunately, domestic partnerships don't count. You have to be legally married. You don't have to be legally married in your home country. You could have been legally married in a third country. That's fine, as long as you have a legal marriage. You can apply with the F1 or J1, or the dependent F2 or J2 can apply independently. It's really up to you. They will need their own documents, like their own passport, things like that, but then they need copies of all of the F and J documents because they're dependent under the record of the F1 or J. So they're going to need a copy of the F1 passport, the F1 proof of funding, the admission letter, all the things that the F1 needed, the F2 will need, as well as their own documents. And we have information on our website about inviting families to the US. Okay, so you got your visa, you're ready to go. So arriving in the US. You can enter the US up to 30 days before the program start date on the I-20 or DS-2018. It's pretty nice on the I-20, which is on the left, the F1 document. It actually tells you the earliest day you can enter. You'll see on your I-20 earliest admission date. J's, they don't calculate it for you, so you just have to count 30 days before the start of your DS 2019. But you can find the dates on page 1 of the I-20. The DS 2019 is pretty much one page, and you can see those dates kind of in the middle of the form. If you're a transfer student, meaning you've already been in the US, you're currently in a student visa status, and you're transferring your I-20, you're not subject to this 30-day limit because your status is continuous. If you transferred your I-20 to UC Berkeley, you're on the same record, you're not limited to the 30-day entry. But for those of you coming on a brand new record, you didn't transfer your I-20 from another school, you're entering for the first time only up to 30 days before the start date on your document. We recommend entering at least a week before your classes begin to give yourself time to adjust, to get settled into your housing, to get bank accounts set up, all those things that you need to do, and make sure you arrive before any required orientation events. So if you're an undergrad, you'd want to be attending GBO, you'd want to attend our orientation. If you're a grad student, you're going to have your own graduate orientation. Your department might have an orientation. We have an orientation. Our orientation is not mandatory, but we really want you to attend because it's really helpful for new students. For grad students, occasionally your orientation might conflict with ours, but for the undergraduates, there's no conflict. You're free to attend ours and it doesn't conflict with your GBO. Okay, so, Canadian students, if you tuned out, please come back. So you're the same, you can arrive up to 30 days before the programs start on your I-20 or DS 2019. That's where you enter. So what does everyone need to enter and how to prepare for arrival? Number 1, carry all your required documents with you, not in your checked suitcase. So, you know, when you put your suitcase and they stick it in the bottom of the plane, that is not where you want your I-20 and passport. You want that in a bag with you in your hands when you're crossing the border. If it's possible, arrive during our office hours, Monday through Friday from 10 to 12 or 1 to 4. I know that's not possible for everyone, but it's nicer because if you have a problem during arrival, you could request that Customs and Border Protection call our office. San Francisco in particular, if you go to San Francisco International Airport, we recommend that. They have a very good relationship with our office. If students have problems, they will literally call every phone in the office trying to get someone to figure out how to help you. Don't bring any restricted items. So make sure you follow rules about travel with medication, food, or pets. Those things are restricted. And then a reminder, medical and recreational marijuana is illegal under US federal law. Possession or use of this can result in deportation. So be aware of that. I know folks traveling from some countries, this might be legal there. It's confusing because in the state of California, it's decriminalized and legal, but on a federal level, meaning a national level, it is still illegal. And we've had students who've been deported for carrying in paraphernalia or carrying in cannabis or marijuana. Be aware that Customs and Border Protection can inspect your electronic devices. So if you want to prepare your devices, the ACLU has some tips for you. So just be aware they could ask to look at your phone. Again, is there anything on your phone that you wouldn't want an immigration officer to see? Think about that, prepare your electronic devices for travel. So required arrival documents. This is what you'll be presenting when you cross the border. Your passport, and it should be valid for at least 6 months into the future, with a valid non-immigrant visa, meaning an unexpired F1 or J1 visa, except if you're Canadian. If you're Canadian, you just show the passport. There's no visa in the passport. You need your original Form I-20 or DS 2019. When we email you an I-20, you need to print out the I-20 and sign it with your human hand. Our signature from the school is allowed to be digital. Your signature is not, and you need to cross the border with a piece of paper. Don't just show them your phone with an I-20 on it. You also need evidence of financial resources. So that would be your funding documents, the same stuff that you showed for the visa, the same stuff that you showed for the NIF. Proof of your admission, same thing that you showed for the visa. Proof of your SEVIS fee payment, same thing you showed for the visa. And vaccination and testing requirements. So the government has specific vaccination and testing requirements. They get adjusted from time to time. So check before you're traveling to make sure you have what you need and that you understand what's required of you. I would say look maybe a week before you're traveling and then maybe the day before you're traveling to make sure, especially with the testing, because you have to test within a certain period of time. So make sure you've made arrangements. A lot of airports and international airports have testing available, but you might have to book appointments. So just pay attention to that. We've got links on our website and also in this tutorial about what you need to do. Officers can ask you questions about your reason for entering, where you're traveling, or about your academic program. This is often a moment when students really struggle. You're ready for the visa interview, but you are not ready when it's for you 2 in the morning and you're stumbling off a 15-hour flight and you're really exhausted. Whatever you need to do when you get off the plane, shake it out, jump up and down for a minute, shake your head, do what you need to do to get awakened and ready to answer questions. And once again, if you don't hear what they said, if you're not sure, just say, I'm sorry, I'm tired. Can you repeat that? Do what you need to do, but you do need to be focused and be able to talk about why you're here, where you're going, and what you're doing. If you have any problems, contact us as soon as possible. Okay, so that is it for the slides. This is the information about our website. You've got our general website, internationaloffice.berkeley.edu. General questions, go to internationaloffice@berkeley.edu. If you have questions about your NIF, the non-immigrant information form to get your I-20 or DS 2018, email NIF specifically, because that team will then be the one to answer it. We have a phone if you want to call us. And then we have advising Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 10 to 12 and 1 to 4. Right now, we're actually fully virtual for advising, so you can join from wherever you are in the world. Look at our student services page to see how to join our virtual advising hours. I would warn you that right now, until the end of the semester, advising hours are really busy. So if your question is not urgent and you are okay with getting a response within 3 business days, send us an email rather than joining advising, because you're going to be in line with lots of students that are graduating, and it's the busiest time of the year, and our wait times for advising are really long right now. So just be aware, it might be better to send an email and you'll get a response and you don't have to wait in line. But after the end of the semester, it'll be a little calmer in advising, but I'm just warning you right now. And if you've been waiting in long lines, I apologize. It's just the time of year. Our advising numbers go up, I think 3 times. We're seeing 3 times the amount of students, sometimes 4 times the amount of students right now. So it's just kind of the busy time. Okay. So I'm going to stop there and see if anyone has questions. If you have any questions, please put your question in the chat. Okay. So question, student has a J1 and they're going to spend around a year at home before applying for the F1. Could that generate any complications when requesting the F1? No, they're not really related, the F1 and the J1. They're just different visas. You could, if you've had any type of prior visa status in the US, you might be asked about your prior status. So if you're asked, answer questions about it. But as a J1, if you're worried about being subject to the 2-year home residency requirement, that doesn't apply to returning to the US as an F1. You are allowed to return as an F1. It's not in a prohibited category for the 2-year requirement. Is there an extra document I need? Nope, no extra document. if you're requesting a deferral to spring 2023, can that affect my capacity of obtaining the F1 later in the year? I'd say if you're requesting a deferral, it might be a little early to start working on the visa, because if your admission is deferred to 2023, it may be too early for you to request the visa. Usually you can request a visa up to, I think, 120 days in advance. So it might be a little early for you to start that process. And I don't know if the NIF's ready for a deferral for spring 2023 or not. So maybe check in with us if you're getting a deferral. That's more specific and we'd want to work with you directly. Other questions? Questions about visas, getting your I-20, the NIF. I'm going to take it back here in the slides. Just kind of take us back to the process overview so you can have that big picture view. And I'm happy to answer any of your questions about any steps in this process. I'm so quiet. Okay, here we go. How do we start applying for the NIF? Do we wait for an email from UC Berkeley with more instructions? Okay, so the NIF, let's see. I'm going to stop my share for a minute, and I'm going to actually show you our web page. All right, let me share my screen. So here's information about the NIF, what it is, what the process is. This is super helpful, this arrival process that's part of that page. So what's going to happen is first you have to, let me zoom in a bit for you. You need to accept your offer of admission and pay your deposit. So then you need to create your Be Connected accounts, and then within this time period, usually within about 24 to 48 hours, sometimes it can take up to a week or more, you'll see in your Cal Central, once you've set up your Cal Central and gotten your Berkeley email account, you'll see a task item in your Cal Central, and you'll use that task item to access the NIF. There will be a link in there. So for new admits, you use the task item in Cal Central after you submit your statement of intent to register, the SIR. Yeah, so questions are coming. Can we have access to the slides? So I'll show you something on our website. Students, let's see. Well, the easiest way to get there is visa. Applying for a visa. Actually, an old webinar is here, and we will post the slides on the website. So this will be posted on the website, okay? All right, another student, is there a way we could link for the recorded session because I was unable to connect during the first half hour? Yes, let me show you that. If you go to our new students page, which is where all your new student information is, if you look, pre-arrival webinars are here, and you'll be able to see your this pre-arrival webinar here. So a link will be here for the recording and then the presentation slides. Okay, so those will be ready for all of you, probably in a few days. It might not be tomorrow, but it'll be ready for you. Okay. Have a student who is Canadian and Jamaican dual citizen. To clarify, I don't need a visa, but do I have other considerations before I book my plane ticket and enter? So for you, my dual citizen friends, I would say when you're requesting your NIF, you're going to want to use your Canadian citizenship, even though you're a dual citizen, and you're going to want to travel at least anytime you enter the US or exit the US, you're going to present your Canadian passport because you always want things to match. If you use your Canadian citizenship, you don't need to get a new visa. You just need to get the I-20 and then enter then. That's all that's different for you though. I want to make sure you understand that. No other rules are different for Canadians. The only thing that's cool for you is you don't have to go to an embassy and get a visa, but every other rule is the same for you, like how much you have to enroll, how much you can work, all that stuff. A lot of our Canadian citizens think they're special because they don't get a visa. You're special for other reasons, but that's not what makes you special. You have all the same rules. You just don't end up needing a visa stamp in your passport to cross the border. Have there been people who ultimately couldn't make it to Berkeley due to visa rejections? Yeah, it happens every once in a while. It's not common, but occasionally, you know, a student gets a visa denial that's really hard to overcome. Those are pretty rare, and they could be for a number of reasons. It could be because they're studying in a sensitive technology area and they have, you know, they have connections to like government and technology, or studied at certain areas where there's restrictions. Some students from China, there's some restrictions due to a presidential proclamation. We've also had others where there are just things in the student's background that immigration wasn't happy about. You know, that it's just hard to account for. Sometimes financial is an issue if they doubt your funding or they feel that or if they just feel that maybe you don't have the right intentions to be here. If they think that really you're going to stay here and you're going to try to work, or that if you've been in a prior visa category and you didn't follow the rules, that's not good. But, you know, I'd say 99% of our students get a visa. The main issue tends to be it could be delayed, or they get a security clearance, or it can take more time. Okay. Let's see, can I share the visa application webpage in the chat? Sure. It is, let's see. There you go. And that all links from our new students webpage. So if you just go to our main webpage and go to students, new, look, there's a link for the NIF too, new, and right there, submit your NIF, apply for your visa, orientation. This is kind of all, it's a good hub for new students about all the things that you need. So do Canadians need a visa or just an I-20? So Canadians, you just need, let's see, I'll show you what you need, travel. What you need is a passport. You don't need the visa, but you need financial support, your I-20, SEVIS fee, proof of payment, and proof of admission is what you'll need. So you need everything but the visa, but you need everything else. So not just the I-20. You need your passport, you need your I-20, you need proof of admission, you need proof of financial support, you need proof of your SEVIS fee payment, you need you know, all of those things to enter. Anybody else? Good questions, everybody. And I know you're just at the start of your processes because we're just kind of hitting our peak NIF season. So everybody's submitting their NIFs and getting their documents.
Hi, Erin, do you mind me speaking for my question?
Yeah, you can speak. We don't have that many people, so it's not disruptive to talk.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for the seminar. So regarding the DS-160, I had an issue because I was completing the DS-160 form, right? And I got to the point where they asked for me to input the service confirmation number and my program number, right? I got there, then I mailed my people because I'm a MasterCard Foundation scholar. I mailed them, you know, asking, you know, if the service fee had been paid and if I could get the service confirmation number. And the response I got was that I do not need the DS-160. That the DS-160 is for people who are just traveling or something like that. let me read the exact response. You know,
Okay.
something like that. It says, I do not believe you should be completing a DS-160 as that is for a travel visa. You are applying for a GA1 visa, which is a DS-2019. So I'm a bit confused seeing on your
Yeah,
presentation.
don't. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Do not ask MasterCard Foundation folks for visa advice. Ask us. They are not trained in visa advising, unfortunately. So I'm not sure what they're saying to you. But yes, you do need to complete the DS-160. But first, you need your DS-2019. So do you have your DS-2019?
No, I don't have it yet.
Okay,
so
you're too far ahead. So let me go back and kind of show you where you need to be. Let me see. So you're way too far ahead of what you're trying to do because you can't do the DS-160 right now because you don't have what you need yet. So what you need is first you have to do the NIF, then we give you the DS-2019. On the DS-2019, is going to be your SEVIS ID number, which is needed. So this is what you get, the one that says J1. You'll get this DS-2019 by mail. And then you pay the SEVIS fee. And then you do the DS-160 and you do your visa interview. So you skipped kind of way over here to step 4, and you need to start with step 1, which is to submit the NIF, request the DS-2019, pay the SEVIS fee, then you do the DS-160. So you just don't have what you need yet. Once you have your DS-2019, you'll have access to your SEVIS ID number, and your program information, the program, the school code is on there. So it's just missing stuff.
Oh yeah, I've actually completed the NIF. So I'm
Okay.
waiting for them to send me the DS-2019. So when they do, I will just copy the SEVIS code and then impute it in the DS-160 form.
And if you log into the NIF, there is a section where it will display your SEVIS ID once we've finished your DS-2019. So you might be able to see it a little early if we've finished the document and it's in the mail to you, because it can take a little while to get it by mail. But if you look in the NIF, once we've completed, that'll populate at some point after we've completed the document.
Okay, final question, apologies.
No problem.
On the iPad, they asked for the SEVIS confirmation number and the program number. Please, where would we find the program number?
The program number is on the DS-2019. This one's very small. Let me see if I can mess with it. It's going to make my slides ugly. The program number is, it's in section 2. So it says program sponsor, University of California at Berkeley. I'm trying to make this really big. I'm here. I'm going to put it in. There it is. Do you see where it's circled now?
Yes, I can see it. Thank you.
That's where it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll have to fix my slide, but it's on there. So, the main thing that you're missing is you just don't have the information that's on the DS-2019. So it'll be a lot clearer for you once you've got that.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Other questions? Anybody else? Is the NIF status, if the NIF status is processing, it means we're all set and just waiting for the release of the I-20. Yeah, I mean, it means we're working on it. So it doesn't mean everything's totally fine. Check your email, the email that you wrote in the NIF, because if there's any problems, then we may email you. If we don't like your documents, like if your funding's not good or, you uploaded the wrong thing, things may get rejected, and then you'll get a notification that a document was rejected with instructions about what you have to do. But it means, yeah, we have it, we're working on it, and eventually it'll change to approved, and you'll see that, things are moving along. How long does it take to get an I-20? Is it by email? Yeah, so getting the I-20, the NIF process is about 10 to 15 business days. You can request an expedite, which will guarantee will be done in 10 business days, but otherwise it can be between 10 to 15. During peak periods right now, it's probably going to be 15 business days. And that's from the date that we get a fully completed NIF. It is by email for F1s. Your I-20 will be emailed to you by end of day on the 15th business day. J1s, we can only do it by mail, so theirs would get mailed out. So if you want it faster, you'd have to request an expedite, and then we can definitely get it to you within 10 business days. Is my handwriting signature on the I-20 in English or other languages okay? It's however you sign your name. So if you're signing an official document, that's how you sign it. It's okay if it's not in English. Sometimes we have students who sign in their home language because that's how they sign, but that just needs to be how you sign official documents. Does being exempted from the COVID vaccine requirement affect the visa in any way? It doesn't affect the visa, but you need to make sure that if you meet an exemption, that you have whatever documentation is required to cross the border and present it, and that's pretty specific. I'll show you on our website where to take a look at that information. So on our website, the easiest way to get there, homepage, and then there's this red box, and you've got our COVID FAQ page. And then here we have information. Do I need to be vaccinated? What about testing? So this, oh, sorry, it's this one. Do I need a vaccine or testing to enter the US? So here we have the information about testing requirements, proof of vaccination, and exceptions. So if you just kind of go to this main page, it goes over what the requirements are, FAQ about exceptions, but that isn't specific to the visa application, it's about entering the US. Do you sign the I-20 form in blue or black, or either works? For you, you can sign it in blue or black, it doesn't matter. The school official has to sign in blue. That's just how it's supposed to be for us, so but you can use whatever color you prefer. Okay, other questions? All right, well, I'm going to give it just a minute more. If you've got a question, get it in there. But I think we may be finishing early. We were set to go until 5 to make sure we had enough time, but I think we had a small group, so not as many questions. You're a small group, but mighty group, so thank you for joining. You're the earliest of our students attending our visa webinar, so you're kind of the first wave. All right, well, if you have further questions, I will show you on our website, contact us. This is all of our contact information. General inquiries, go to internationaloffice@berkeley.edu. NIF questions, go here. My friends from MasterCard Scholar Program, you are not a J1 visiting scholar. I know it seems like you are, but this is a different visa category for like visiting professors and postdocs. You email like all the other students, international office or NIF if you have questions, okay? And other than that, we've got our student services page. You can see our virtual advising information and check out if you want to come visit us in advising. So everybody, I wish you oh, there's another question. What if the interviewer asks for plans after the PhD? Such plans aren't clear yet. It's totally fine to say, I don't know what I'm going to do. You know, I'm just working on my PhD. And, you know, you could say I'm hopeful to get some experience in the US. And, you know, I hope to find a job back home or whatever your desires are. But it's totally fine to be unclear about what you're going to do in like 5 years from now. Okay, take care, everybody, and have a good day, or good evening or morning or whatever's going on wherever you are. Enjoy the rest of your time in the day. Take care. Bye-bye.